Picture this. It's Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. You grab your phone to check a message, maybe stream a song, look something up, and nothing. Just nothing. For millions of people around the world, this wasn't just a thought experiment. The digital world they rely on simply went dark.
It's kind of the nightmare scenario, isn't it? The idea that this invisible network that we've built basically our entire modern lives on could just vanish. Well, on this one Tuesday, that fear got very, very real. So what on earth actually happened?
So let's talk about what this digital blackout actually looked and felt like for regular people. This wasn't just, a slow Wi-Fi connection. We're talking about a complete and total outage for some of the biggest and most important services on the web. The scale of this failure was just, wow. It was staggering. The social media giant X? Gone. Your favorite playlist on Spotify? Silence. Even ChatGPT couldn't cook up an explanation for what was going on. But here's the real kicker. The ultimate irony. Down Detector, the one website everyone rushes to when they think the internet is broken, it was broken too. This was a full-on cascade failure, and it all pointed to one single massive problem sitting right at the heart of the internet. Okay, so who was the culprit? You'd probably guess one of the usual suspects, right? A Google, an Amazon, maybe a Microsoft? Well, nope. The company responsible for all this chaos was one that most people have never even heard of. And yet they run a huge chunk of the internet we use every single day. Let's talk about a company called Cloudflare. The easiest way to think about them is as the internet's bouncer and its traffic cop, all rolled into one. As the bouncer, they handle security. They stand at the door of websites and keep out the bad guys, like those nasty DDoS attacks. And as the traffic cop, they're what's known as a content delivery network, or CDN. They make sure you get to the website you want using the fastest, most efficient route possible. They're basically the invisible plumbing that makes the whole web work. So just how much of the internet relies on this one company's plumbing? It is an absolutely mind-boggling amount. Cloudflare handles nearly 20% of all traffic on the entire internet. So yeah, when a single company has that much power, a problem on their end isn't just a problem. It's a problem the entire world feels. So how did they get so big, so dominant? Well, they just made a better offer. Compared to competitors like Amazon's AWS or Akamai, Cloudflare was just easier. Instead of a complex setup, they had a simple, all-in-one dashboard. Their security wasn't some expensive add-on, it was built in and unlimited. And on top of all that, they were reportedly faster. For thousands and thousands of companies, making the switch was an absolute no-brainer. And that's how you get this quiet, hidden giant. All right, so you've got this internet giant, and it goes down hard. It has to be a massive, sophisticated cyber attack, right? A hostile nation state, maybe. Well, the truth is actually a lot simpler, and frankly, a lot more terrifying. And we don't even have to speculate. Cloudflare's own chief technical officer, Dane Necht, came right out and said it, plain as day. It was not an attack. The call was coming from inside the house. This was a self-inflicted wound. And here's the play-by-play of how it all fell apart. Buried deep inside Cloudflare's software, there was a hidden bug, what they call a latent error. Then, the team pushed out a totally normal, routine configuration change, something they do all the time. But this time, that simple update acted like a tripwire. It triggered the hidden bug, and that set off a catastrophic, cascading failure across their entire global network. It wasn't a bomb. It was just one domino falling over and taking everything else with it. And this is where a technical glitch in a server room somewhere becomes real-world chaos for millions. That one falling domino can paralyze daily life thousands of miles away. And honestly, there's no better example of this crazy ripple effect than what went down in Colombia. For hours, Colombia's digital economy just stopped. It ground to a halt. People couldn't get to their money at the biggest banks in the country. The top e-commerce sites were completely offline, which means no one was buying anything. The outage laid bare this just shocking vulnerability that a massive piece of an entire nation's critical infrastructure was totally dependent on one single company in another country. And that right there brings us to the real lesson in all of this. Because this story isn't just about Cloudflare having a really, really bad day. It's a story about the hidden fragility of the entire internet that we've come to depend on. As cybersecurity professor Alan Woodward points out, this event highlights a dangerous concentration. We've built this incredible, sprawling digital world, but we've built it on top of a surprisingly small number of giant pillars. And while that's super efficient, it also means that if one of those pillars starts to crumble, a huge chunk of the building comes crashing down with it. And look, this wasn't some freak accident. It wasn't a one-off. The Cloudflare outage happened just 1 month after Amazon Web Services, AWS, had its own massive failure. You start to see a pattern here, right? This isn't just bad luck. It's a systemic risk that's baked right into the architecture of the internet we use every day. So here's the fundamental trade-off we've made. On one hand, you have centralization. And hey, it's great. It's simple, it's super efficient, and it's what has allowed the internet to grow so incredibly fast. But it has one massive Achilles heel, a single point of failure. On the other hand, you have decentralization. It's way more resilient. If one piece breaks, the others just keep on working. But it's also a lot more complex and expensive to run. And in our never-ending quest for speed and simplicity, we've leaned really, really hard into the centralized but much more fragile model. So, if our digital foundations are this shaky, what do we do about it? How do we reinforce everything? How do we build a stronger web that doesn't just fall over when one company trips on a wire? Well, the main solution people are talking about is a strategy called Multi-CDN. And the concept is actually pretty simple. Instead of putting all your eggs in one basket with a provider like Cloudflare, a website uses 2 or 3 or more. It's kind of like your GPS. If there's a massive accident blocking one highway, your phone just automatically finds you a different route. It's all about avoiding that dreaded single point of failure. Now, this leads to a really fascinating and kind of ironic situation that you could call the Cloudflare paradox. To earn back trust after this huge outage, Cloudflare, the company that got so big because of centralization, now has to actively help its biggest clients become less dependent on it. They literally have to help other companies build systems that protect them from Cloudflare itself failing again. And that leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. To all of us, the internet feels infinite, right? It feels decentralized and vast. But what this outage showed us is that feeling might just be an illusion that's hiding a system that is far more centralized, far more concentrated, and way more fragile than any of us ever imagined. The real question is, what happens when the next pillar stumbles?